Hi guys, I'm Annabelle, and welcome to Meeple Village. Today we're going to be doing a full run-through of Middara, Unintentional Malum Act 1. And this is a big box and a big game. Let me show you. Join me at the table and let's play it. Alright guys, I have the game set up and ready to go. Let's go over setup real quick so that you know kind of what I'm doing here. So in this game, even though whether you're playing solo or with more players, it goes up to 4 players, you are going to be controlling 4 characters. And I have the 4 characters here on the map. It's a scenario-driven game. You can play it in one of 2 ways. You can play it as just one scenario, one encounter, I guess they call it. And just go for the most loot and XP and all that and just live the adventure. Or you can play the way it's intended, I guess, basically to be played, which is in a campaign, hours and hours and hours on end. I believe they said that it could take you up to a year to finish the whole game. It's very immersive, very story-driven. And that's pretty much the way I've been playing it and the way that I've been enjoying it. It is a lot to handle with 4 characters, but we're going to do our best to keep everyone here and manage them. I try to keep everything on camera, but I know that there's a lot, so I will be showing you stuff as it becomes important. But in this scenario, I've set up the map and I've set up the tokens. I'm going to show you what it looks like in the scenario book. I have the initiative track, which we will shuffle and deal again. Right now at the beginning of the scenario, it's only us. There's no monsters. I'm sure they will pop up at some point, but there's our initiative now. This is the combatant loot. If we kill any monsters, if we defeat any monsters, that's where we will draw items from. And then I have my 4 characters with all of their equipment and their abilities. Over here we have Zeke, we have Nightingale Arson, we have Remy, and we have Rook, and they all start with 3, I guess you can call them SP, which are points that we can use to do actions during the turn, and I'll show you all of that as we go. But that's it. Let's take a look at the objective, all of the stuff. I'll try to keep spoilers to a minimum because I want you to experience the game by yourself, because it's really, really cool. But the way I think of it is it's Final Fantasy in a box. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we're doing today. Okay, so I'm going to be running through the first objective, or the first encounter that you come across in the game, which is the Masked Day 1. And as you can tell, I have my starting characters in these 2 starting spots. There's the map. There's one little obstructing rock right there in the way. There's these blue and red-eyed things that are called totems. There's our exit, and there's a little bit of loot here at the end. Now, it's really nice that it tells you like exactly what you need in order to set up the tiles, the terrain, which is the obstructing red, this thing right there, the totems, the blue and the red, the loot, and the exit. And here's the end condition. The win condition is an adventurer ends their turn on the blue exit, which is down up there. And the lose, and then there's a reward, but of course we can't see it. And the way that works, they keep the information hidden and you have to read it with this decoder. So I'll show you when we actually meet that condition. I'll show you how it's done. So that's how we win. The lose condition is that we are all defeated. And there's still a reward apparently, and then we will continue somewhere else. Now the special encounter rules for this scenario is that the little square thing on the map is a movable rock. An adventurer adjacent to the obstructing terrain token may take an encounter action to make a strength 10 skill check, and if they pass, they may move the obstructing terrain token onto an adjacent unoccupied space, and if the space is moved onto a dangerous terrain, discard it. And you'll understand all of that in a minute. And then there's grading, which, because we're taking a test, but I mean, you can read it if you want to. We're really not going to bother too much with this because it just carries on to the next adventure, and we're not going to continue to the next adventure, at least not right now. And then let's see. Then over here, I can show you that right now our level of loot is mundane, and if we pick up that blue loot, we're going to read this with the decoder. If we ever come into line of sight with the blue totem, we read that, and apparently there's a red totem. Oh yeah, there's a red totem on the map. If we come across the red totem in line of sight, we will read that with the decoder as well. And I gotta say, I love how that decoder works, because I tend to, I guess unintentionally sometimes very intentionally, look ahead and see, well, which way is better, which way is the right way to go. And in this game I can't cheat, because I would have to like literally grab that decoder and read that, and it's not easy to read. I'll try to show you, hopefully you'll be able to see it on camera. You can read it, but it's hard to read, so it kind of prevents me from actually looking ahead, and I love that, because I want to explore the game as it grows. But with all of that said, we can go to gameplay. Okay, so like you noticed, we have an initiative track, so we have to take turns in order. So Nightingale is going to go first, and she is right here. Now, on your turn, there's a few things that you can do, and there's a handy dandy player aid that is we're going to show you, so that we know exactly what action she has available during her turn. So here's an adventurer's turn. So first, start of turn phase, resolve abilities and effects that occur at the start of a turn. Right now she doesn't have any of those abilities, but I want to show you what the character is all about, so you have a better idea of who Nightingale is. Okay, so here's the character sheet. Let's go over it real quick. This is your SP. You start the game with 3. Every turn you're going to gain 3 up to your maximum of 5. The first turn you don't gain those 3 because you start with 3. She has an ability called Ambitious that you can use once per encounter. All other allies gain 1 SP, and she gains 2 SP, so more of these. And then that's her convincing and casting die, which I'll explain as we need to use them, which we will. And then she has all those stats for skill checks, and these are her stats as far as movement. She can move up to 6 squares. No diagonal movement in this game. That's her defense and her health. She is carrying a longsword, and all of that is going to become more you wouldn't understand all of this when we start playing and I start using the abilities on a longsword, but that's how much it'll cost if we ever have to buy it. That's how much it rolls, or what dice it rolls. It's a two-handed weapon, and it's a melee attack, and it has a passive ability. You may counter the first attack that doesn't deal damage or misses you each round, and it can only have 1 upgrade. And then we can exhaust it, which means to tap it in order to dodge. And there are symbols on the custom dice, and you're going to see those reflected here. She is also carrying a magic talisman, which is one-handed, so I need to pick which one she wants to use. I'm going to go with a sword for now. So this, and by the way, this symbol means it's either a range or melee weapon, and it has a passive ability and some symbols on the bottom as well. As far as defense, she's wearing an occult shirt. Very cool. And it gives her no armor, but it does give her 3 more HP, so instead of 12 she's at 15, and it gives her +1 movement, which is great. And we can exhaust it to dodge, and the passive ability is to add 1 more, and that will, again, when we use it, I'll show it to you again so you understand. Another defense that she has is a defensive core, and this one will let her dodge. If we exhaust it, it adds 1 defense, and it gives her another 2 HP. And she's going to need all that extra XP because of her gore shot, which is an ability out of the Cruer. There's, I think, 5 different schools that you can have abilities in, and she starts with this one. If you exhaust it, she can cast a spell, so she's our, I guess, wizard in that respect. I don't think anybody else can cast spells at this point. It will deal 2 magic damage, but if you give yourself 2 irreducible damage, you can give her 2 times 1 your highest level Cruer discipline, which is the only one she has, so it would be another 2 damage, just 2 times 1. This is a level 1 ability. I also want to quickly show you that there's a story for her in the back of this. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but if you want to pause and read it, you are able to do that now. Alright, so now you know a little bit more about Nightingale, and like I said, she doesn't have any at the beginning of the turn ability, so let's move on to the next step in her turn. So we did number 1. Number 2 would be the status phase. Any abilities that have the status condition will trigger, but again, she doesn't have any of those right now. And then number 3, refresh phase. the adventurer goes through the following: recover stamina points, which we don't do at the beginning of the turn, but like I told you, she will get 3 SP at the beginning of each turn. And then unexhaust cards, which means on tap, but nothing is tapped at this point. So we're going to go to the meat of the turn, which is the action phase. Adventurers may spend as many SP as they like to use actions and abilities. When they decide they no longer want to spend SP or make actions or use abilities, the adventurer continues to the end phase. All right, so what do we do on our action phase? What are those abilities and SP? What can we spend it on? On the other side of the player aid, it tells you all of the stuff that you can spend it on. So that circle right here tells you how much SP it costs. So the first thing that we're probably going to do is move up to your maximum movement, which remember, she gets a +1. So instead of 6, you can move up to 7. For each additional SP spent, add 2 to your movement value. So if we spend 1, she can move 7, but if she spends another one, she can move an extra 2. And important, you can only do this once per turn. And then we have attack, we have encounter, we have re-equip, which is just switching your stuff around. And then we have standard abilities like Dutch, Empower, and Counter, and you will see all of those. But for now, let's just focus on movement and see how far she can go. I mean, before she moves, I will talk a little bit about terrain. Line of sight in this game, really easy. You just draw a line from the center of your space to the center of the space you are trying to draw a line of sight to. It goes on forever, so as long as nothing obstructs this, then you can see someone else. What obstructs this? Just obstructing terrain and other opponents, right? Because your allies do not. But there is terrain, and there's a lot of terrain in this game, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of glittery. I don't think that there's any here that kind of looks nice, but let's talk about the terrain that's here on this tile. So the surrounded by green is hindering terrain, and it costs 2 movement points to get out of hindering terrain. And if you're attacking through hindering terrain, you get a -1 to your attack roll. So no bueno. The red border one is obstructing terrain, and you can never go into it, attack through it. It's kind of like a wall, like an edge. And you see that there's a lot of that, and we have like a little path that we kind of have to go through. We are obstructed up here, and this last terrain, surrounded by white, is dangerous terrain. Pretty much you die if you touch it. If you go in there, if you end your movement there, if you try to leave it, all of that will defeat you. You can jump it, and there's a mechanic that lets you jump, but it's better to leave it not touched, because if you jump it and fail to jump and nobody helps you, because there's 2 ways that they can help you. If someone is adjacent to you when you're trying to jump, they kind of boost you and help you with that skill check. And if someone's on the other side, or if someone is on the other side and they try to catch you and also help you with that skill check. So that's actually very thematic and cool, but I try to stay away from dangerous terrain, because if you fail, you are immediately defeated. It doesn't matter if you're at full health. So those are basically the stuff that we have here. There's also water, which again takes 2 to move out of. There's a couple more, but let's focus on the ones that are here. So for now, Nightingale has to get going. We're trying to move this rock because it is the only way to the blue exit. So she's going to move her 7, so she has to spend 1 SP. So I'll just turn that over. Yep, so she's down to 2 SP, and off she goes. And no diagonals, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But she cannot get out of there because it will take her 2 to get out of there. And she only has 1 more. She has a total of 7. She could spend another SP and move out, but it will only put her here, and I don't think it'll make much of a difference. I guess the only difference is that she won't be in the way, because something else is, if someone tries to move through an ally, you cannot move through opponents, but you can move through your allies. But again, costs, you know it, to move through a space with an ally. She'll just stay there. She'll have to pay 2 to move out next turn. I think it's good. She's going to get 3 SP back, putting her at her max. So I'm happy with that. And to indicate that she's gone, she's going to exhaust her card. There's nothing to attack here. There's nothing else for her to do. She cannot cast. She is our spellcaster. Remember, she has that ability. But in order to cast a spell, you have to be in not line of sight, but sphere of influence, which is really another term for spells line of sight or spell likes line of sight, because there's spells and there's things that look like spells but that are not spells, but they're not really attacks. And for a sphere of influence, you are at range 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's nothing at range 4 because we really can't attack the rock. We have to push it. So she's done. So we're going to go to the next up, and that's Zeke, who is over here. But before we do that, let's take a look at Zeke, his abilities, and his equipment. Alright, so there he is. He also starts with 3. He can go up to a maximum of 5. I believe everybody's like that. He is a nimble fighter, passive. Once per turn, Zeke may reroll his Dutch roll. And like you would imagine, passive means it's always active. And then there's his conviction, his casting, his skills. And he also has a movement of 6, pretty much same stats as far as defense. Let me show you his backstory. There it is. You can read up on it if you'd like. Zeke is carrying 2 of these short swords, which are one-handed, and they let him roll a purple die. If he exhausts this, he can move 1 space diagonally. And there's a thing called combo light. If you look up here at the tags, this has the light tag. So if he has another weapon in his hands that is light, and he happens to, because like I said, he has 2 of these swords, if he does that and he meets that condition, then he can exhaust this to reroll 1 of your combat dice, and he gets finesse. And what that means is that instead of rolling that purple, he gets to roll white die. And as you can imagine, white is better than purple. So he also has a badass leather jacket, which gives him +1 armor and +4 HP. And he can exhaust it, and there also has a passive ability. In his core, he has +1 defense, and he has a cool passive ability that if he ends the encounter with this, he gets loot. And he also gets convention upgrade, which means that his convention, instead of rolling what he usually rolls, which is 2 purples, he gets to change 1 of those purples into a white die. And he has an ability. He chose the School of Martial. Actually, he didn't choose. He starts the game with this. You can change it later. You can exhaust it if you have a 2 one-handed weapon. If you have 2 one-handed weapons, which he does, those 2 swords, you can make an attack for free. That free attack is going to come in handy as soon as we get some monsters on the board. But for now, all he's going to do is move. He's going to spend 1 SP, and you're going to see more movement. So he doesn't get the +1 movement, so he's only moving 6, no diagonals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I try and avoid all those terrains that just are going to keep me from moving because it costs 2 to get out of. So that was Zeke. Nothing to attack, nothing much to do. And I find that sometimes in this game that could happen. I have a bunch of SP, but nothing to use it on, which is kind of like, oh, come on, what else could I do? I mean, we could re-equip, but they have nothing to re-equip. Of course, later in the game, you're going to get some items, you're going to get some consumables, and you could re-equip and spend your SP like that. But for now, he's got 2 SP, so he's going to get up to his max next turn. Let's go to Rook. So, Rook, he is our tank. Pretty much same here. His thing is that he has a modified HP of 14, and he can equip an additional consumable, and he ignores movement, negative movement, because if he's carrying something heavy, which he is. Conviction and casting, skills, and pretty much same over here, except that his health is 14, like it mentions in the abilities. And then let's take a look at the back, and you can read his story. I actually like his, it's pretty cool. Rook is carrying 2 of these Warhammers, which are one-handed weapon. And if you exhaust it, you can empower it, which I'll show you later. And if you have the combo Warhammer or Shield, so if he's carrying either a Warhammer or a Shield, and he's carrying another Warhammer, so he gets his ability gain 1 plus heavy, but remember, he contradicts that. And this doesn't stack with another Warhammer, so he only gets this ability once. He has these cool sunglasses, which are giving him 1 defense and conviction upgrade. And if I flip it, I'm making a conviction check, just pass. And then armor, which per encounter, he can just ignore damage, physical damage. And it also gives him +2 armor and +2 HP. And he is our healer. He's got the Sanctus level 1. Per encounter, he can gain 2 heal tokens, and when he uses them, he heals an ally other than yourself and gains 1 SP. I think you've already seen all the ways that you can use your cards in this turn. You can either exhaust them, which means tap them and they'll unexhaust at the end of the turn. You can use them once per encounter, which means we can only use them for this encounter. When we finish this encounter, we can use them again in another encounter. And then the last one is what Rook has, which is flip. And if you flip your cards, you cannot use them again until the story lets you use them again with a restore ability where you can restore your adventurers. So those are the 3 main ways that you use your cards. And now Rook's going to move. He doesn't have any extra movement, so just 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if he wanted to move through her, he would need 1 more because it takes 2, so that would be 5, 6, and he cannot end his turn, obviously, where she is. I gotta also point out that just she's hindering terrain, but she's also blocking. It doesn't stack up. So it's only 2 to get out of that space, but he doesn't have it. So he's gonna stop. And again, he doesn't have much to do. But I kind of want him to head over there and deal with this rock, because I would think that he's the strongest out of all of them as far as the skill check. So I could use. He still has. Let's see. He moved 1, 2, 3, 4. Still has 2 more, and if I spend 1 more SP, he has 2 more. So I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to spend 1 SP on for him to move 2. And, so that's 1, 2, and then, 1, 2, and then 1, 2. And he is closer to that rock, the closest out of all the adventurers, so he can deal with it. And we are not, actually, we are in line of sight of this. Because like I said, line of sight goes on forever. So if somebody ever comes into line of sight, we weren't in line of sight here because of the obstructed terrain, but now we are, because dangerous terrain does not block line of sight. So as soon as we are in line of sight with one of these totems, we stop our turn, which has ended anyways, although he does have 1 SP left if he wants to use it for something, but we resolve the totem. So we go to the book, we use the decoder, and we see what's behind totem number blue. Alright, so I don't want to spoil it too much for you. You can read it if you want to, but basically we've got... Alright, so I've spawned our spiders, or cave sickles, I guess. 2 of them, any space that is normal terrain next to the blue totem, so I could put here, here, here. I guess we'll put them as far as us as we can. They're coming. And 2 in the south of this tile, which is UM1, yeah, right, UM11, yes. So they will, I put them here in the south because the other place will be here, which that would be fine. Remy could actually take 1, so that you can see battle as fast as possible. I'm gonna put it there. Be brave and put it there. Put this guy here in the corner. They have their card now. Since there can be up to 3 in a group, that's what we're going to keep track of damage up there for them. There's 2 in this group and 2 in that group. That's why I have red and purple base, and then these 2 colors to represent these 2 cave sickles over there. And their initiative card gets put at the end of the initiative tracker. Of course, at the end of this round, we're going to shuffle all the cards and deal a new initiative, so they might act before we do. But for now, they do go after we're done. Alright, so we were in the middle of Rook's turn. He has 2 SP left because he used 1 to move. With 2 SP, he could attack. The problem is he's not near any of the cave spiders, so he's going to have to wait. So he's done, so we're going to go ahead and exhaust him. And then it's Remy's turn, and we're ready for a battle. Because, well, first let me show you what Remy's all about, and then I'll show you how she's going to battle this cave sickle. Alright, so here's Remy, and 3 SP, up to 5 max. She has Shady Training. If I exhaust this, I can move 1 space in any direction, including diagonal, which is very convenient because that's like moving 2 spaces. And then she has Flight. Make a move. Remy has Flight for the duration of this movement. This ability may only be used if Remy has less damage than half of her total HP. I guess her damage her wings first. And Flight just means she goes through every terrain except for obstructing terrain at no penalty. There's her skills and her conviction and casting. She also has 12 health, defense, and movement. And for her backstory, you can read it if you like. What is she equipped with? She has a war axe as her weapon, two-handed, and if she exhausts this, she can count that symbol as +1 physical damage, and there's the symbols on the bottom. She's also wearing an occult shirt, and I appreciate that this occult shirt doesn't look anything like the other occult shirt that we just saw. It gives her nothing, no armor, but it gives her 3 HP and +1 movement, which is very convenient since she can fly. And then if we exhaust her, she can dodge, and if she makes a dodge, then that will happen, which I'll show you when it happens. And for her core, she gets +1 defense, and we can counter if we exhaust it. She has an ability from the martial school and passive, so always active. Your attacks gain +1 damage, very nice. And if we exhaust it, we can reroll, right? If you have a two-handed weapon, which we do, you may reroll any dice in your combat dice pool. We are adjacent to a monster, so for 2 SP, we can attack. Make an attack against a figure using the combat dice of your equipped weapons. So Remy is going to be using 2 white dice. The cave sickles have a defense of 8, so that's a number she needs to roll in order to make a successful hit. The other thing that she can do during the attack is she can empower. When building your combat dice pool during an attack or when determining the force of a spell, you may spend 1 additional SP to add the black die. Cost her 1 SP, and that black die is full of symbols. And these symbols are going to be at the bottom of her weapon and will add damage. However, if she rolls this, well, it doesn't add anything else. And the attack just straight out misses. So I don't think I want to empower. I think hitting an 8 should be easy because she has that reroll. So let's see what she rolls. And she got an 8, which is exactly what she needed. Not great. So right now, so this is how it works. In order to know if an attack is successful, you have to equal or deal or beat the number that you're going for. In this case, it was an 8, so yes, the attack does hit. Now, how much damage it does, that's when things get complicated. Because it will do a damage if we count the difference between what we rolled and the difference in their defense and their armor. Now, the cave sickles have 0 armor, so it doesn't matter. But we roll an 8, and they're defense 8. So right now, we're doing 0 damage to them. But that's when those symbols come into effect. So we have a book, and we have a shield. If we look at her shield, that adds +1 physical damage. So right now, we are doing 1 damage to the cave sickles. It's not a lot. However, we can also exhaust this. And if we do, when determining the damage of an attack, the weapon gains books do +1 damage until the attack is resolved. We want to go ahead and exhaust that so we can count that 1 book that we got as another damage, dealing 2 damage to the cave sickles. Now to remember that I've used this power, I can do 2 things. I can tap it, or I can use one of these little things that it either says used or exhausted and cover that ability. And the reason why I like doing that is because that way, if I want to look at anything else that's on the card, tapped makes me do weird things with my neck. This way I can still see everything, I can still see the symbols, I can still see all the other abilities on the card. Alright, so remember, she dealt 2 damage to the cave sickles, but her passive ability shows us that she does +1 physical damage, so she's actually doing 3 damage. I can also exhaust this to reroll my dice, but I think I want to save that for a later turn. Maybe if no one else can fight these cave sickles, then I'll go ahead and use it. For now, I'll save it. Although, maybe I shouldn't save it because it will refresh at the end of my turn. So let's say that I do exhaust it and we get to reroll that 3. Alright, let's reroll the 3 and see what we get. Alright, we get a 4. So actually, that's not bad. We get a 4, and we have to recalculate everything, of course, but that's just practicing so that we get more experience with it. So they're at defense 8. We actually now rolled a 9, so they're taking 1 damage already. We add 1 damage with our passive ability, that's 2 damage, and then our shields count as 2 more damage, that's 4 damage. And then our book, because we exhausted our war axe, gives the cave sickles another damage, so they're 5 damage. So that's a big improvement with just 1 more, like upgrading from a 3 to a 4 by that reroll. So like I said, in order to track how much the cave sickle damage is, we use these tokens. They're 5 damage. They only have 6 health, so the cave sickle is pretty much done. 1 more damage, but of course it's not done, so it's probably going to attack me next turn. Now, let's take a look at the cave sickles because some monsters get to dodge and some get to counter, just like we do. Luckily, the cave sickle doesn't do either, so here is pretty much what they do. The cave sickle has immunity to poison. We cannot poison it, but they don't spend extra movement points with terrain, so that's really handy. If they're together with other cave sickles, they increase their stats, so that's that. And then this is how they're going to act, but they do not get to dodge or counter. And on the corner is what they were re-rolling during their attack. And funny enough, there's also like a backstory for them. So Remy has attacked, which cost her 2 SP. She has 1 SP left. She cannot attack again. She could if she had more SP, but she does not. So she can still move because she hasn't moved during the whole turn. And she is a flyer. If she doesn't move, this cave sickle will probably get to her. So I think she will spend her last SP and move away, let the spider come to her. And deal with it later. Also, we need to move towards the exit, right? So at least somebody needs to get to the exit. Now, here's the thing. Maybe I won't move her, and I'll tell you why. When you move, and when you're adjacent to a monster and you move away, the monster gets what is called a break attack. They get to attack us. And if the monster moves away from us, same thing. We get to attack them. But usually monsters don't want to move once they're adjacent to somebody. But it depends on the monster, I guess. So if I move away, this spider is going to get a free attack on me. Of course, that wouldn't be the end of the world because I could dodge, I could counter, I could do all those things. It's probably going to attack me anyways during its turn. But I think I'm going to let it so you guys see how the spiders activate when they do. So I'm going to end my turn. Also, I don't want to deplete all of my SP. I know I get 3 more at the beginning of my turn, but you know. So cave sickle's turn. Now it gets interesting. First, we're going to activate these 2, and I will activate number 1 first, which is the red one. And they all activate individually. We're going to activate both the red and the purple, which are in this group, which are cave sickles 1, 2, 3. So we kind of looked at it, but we didn't look at what they would do during their turn. We know that they're immune to poison. They can move through terrain without extra costs. Of course, dangerous terrain will still kill them if they move in there, so they don't want to do that. And there is obstructing terrain that they cannot go through, so we got to keep all of that in mind. Also, by the way, this totem has been resolved, so I should have taken it off the board. But in order to know what the cave sickles are going to do, we just read the bold part over here. Is there an opponent adjacent? There is not. So we go down to the next one. Is there an opponent within range 4? There is an opponent within range 4, but there is no line of sight. Well, actually, there could be. Let's go check if line of sight happens. Like I said before, in order to consider line of sight, from the center of the space to the center of the space. So this guy is 1, 2, 3, 4 away, but can they see me? Let's move these guys away. Let's actually, let me leave them here so I know where they go. Okay. So if I do this from the center to the center, it looks like it goes through the obstructing terrain. So no, they do not have line of sight to me. So that doesn't happen. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so the last one. Can it move and attack an opponent within range 4? So we're going to check if it can at any point move somewhere where it's still at range 4 but can't see us. And then it will move up to range 4 from the nearest opponent and then make an attack. And their movement is 6. So let's see how that goes. Remember, we can attack through dangerous terrain, just can't end our movement there. So I'm thinking if the sickle moves over here, maybe it can see me. So let's try that again. From the center of this space to the center of that space. And yes, that is valid because it's not really touching the obstructing terrain. So, oops, hold on. Yeah, no, it's not. All right, so the spider can move up to 6, but it doesn't need to. It only needs to move 1. So there he goes. And now he's going to make a range attack of 4. Now they're rolling 2 white. They don't get to empower like we do. Some monsters do, and it'll say it right on the card. Now, in order to hit me, let's check what they need. I know they need 9, but do I have anything else on me? I have 1 more here, so that's 10, and the rest is armor. So, okay, that means that they need to roll a 10. And they roll a 9, so it's a miss. 1 more and they would have gotten it. Okay, so that's this cave sickle, So we need to move to the next cave sickle and we go through the same thing. Is there an opponent adjacent? No. Is there an opponent within range 4? No. Can it move and attack an opponent within range 4? See, if it moved here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I can. 1, 2, and let's check that line of sight again. It can see through his friends, so it will. However, when you're attacking through a friend, because it's going right through the friends, they do lose 1 to their attack roll. So -1 to the attack roll. Let's see if it can hit a 10. Well, actually, I will have to hit an 11. And it doesn't. It hits an 8. Okay. So they both missed, and they are done. And now we're going to go to the other 2 cave sickles, which is going to be a little different because, well, we're right next door. So, but the card is the same, even though there's 2 cards, they're the same. Let's see. First, is there an opponent adjacent? For this guy, yes, there is. So what does he do? Make an attack against an opponent, against the opponent with the most damage, which there's only 1 opponent next to them, so we'll just attack Remy. And then the FU does not stand for what you guys think it stands for. It actually stands for follow-up. And what that means is if they're successful and they hit with the attack, they will do a follow-up move, which will be make an attack against the same target. Fun! Which means that I really need to make sure that his attack misses, because if it misses, then there's no follow-up attack. But let's see. Alright, so they're rolling 2 white. They do not get to empower. Remy over here gets to dodge. Her occult shirt lets her dodge pretty much for free, because usually dodge does have a cost. If you successfully dodge the attack, then she can counter, which hopefully you'll get to see as well. And dodge and counter are both here. See, it usually costs 1 to dodge, 2 to counter, so she is saving 3 SP. Well, I mean, we'll see first if she can dodge. During the dodge step of an attack, roll the black die, add +1 defense for each shield rolled. But if you rolled the skull, the no defense is added. So first, let's check her defense. How much does the cave sickle have to roll? Let's see. She has a starting defense of 9, but over here, no, that's armor. Over here, she gets 1 more defense, so she's at 10. So the cave sickles have to hit a 10. Let's see. And they hit a 12. So right now, they are being successful. So we have to, I mean, if we want to prevent the attack from hitting, we have to dodge. We'll leave this to the side over here, so we can come back to it in case we don't dodge. So first, we're going to exhaust our occult shirt to be able to dodge. The dodge lets us roll an extra black, and we want to see tons of shields. Let's see. Wow, yes, that's tons of shields. So we have +1 to our defense. So instead of just being a 10, we're at 14, which means the attack misses because they only have a 12. So because the attack misses, our occult shirt is going to let us counter. So what is counter? It tells us, counter, when an attack deals no final damage, counter the attack. If this attack was successfully dodged, reduce the cost of the counter by 1. But we're just getting a counter for free. And like I said, we've got no final damage. We're able to counter, and counter is just making an attack against the spider. So I'm hoping to kill it, or not the spider, the cave sickle. Alright, so I get to roll now and counter that cave sickle with 2 white dice. If I spend my last SP, I can empower the attack by adding my black die to the roll. I have to make a decision now. It only has 1 HP left. I'm hoping that I can roll high enough. I have to beat the defense of 8. Let's see if I can do it without wasting my last SP, or spending my last SP, because it's not a waste. Alright, so 7 + 5 is 12. Yeah, I do it. I actually have more than enough to defeat it. Now, I've defeated it, and in this scenario, some things happen. You have to keep count of, I believe you have to keep count of how many you kill. But we're not going to worry about that because we're not going to move on to the next one. But also, I would get loot. However, the cave sickle is part of a swarm, and that means that I don't get the loot until I defeat all of the cave sickles that are in, what do you call it, in this, they came together in a group. So I'd have to defeat this one before I can get my loot card. So, but at least 1 down. And now I'm happy that you've seen combat, you've seen dodge, you've seen counter. It's all moving along. The only thing you haven't seen, I think, is casting a spell. which I'm sure Nightingale will do for us in a minute. Okay, so that was all because the cave spider, the cave sickle. Why do I keep calling it a spider? It doesn't even look like a spider. All right, but that was all that cave sickle's turn. We go to this cave sickle, and we're gonna go through all of that because I killed it during its turn, not my turn. So first, is an opponent adjacent? No. Is there an opponent within range 4? Yes, there is. There's actually 2 opponents within range 4, which is great that this is happening because, again, we kind of, I want to show you that as well. So if they're both the same distance, which in this case they are, we check for initiative and who is first in initiative, and in this case is Nightingale. But we also need to check hindering terrain because you want to kind of be smart. You want to play as smart as you can with the monsters and give them as much of an opportunity to win as we're given the heroes. And if she attacked this girl, she'd be at a -1 and at another -1 because of the hindering terrain. Whereas over here, she'd only be at a -1 for Rook. So let's make the smart decision and attack Rook instead. Because I think that's what's going to happen. Is there an opponent within range 4? Yeah, making a range attack. Okay, so we're going to make a range attack. It's 2 white die. And Rook's defense is 9, 10. Yeah, 10. Okay, so 3 and 9, so he didn't make it. So now Rook could dodge and counter. He has SP, but Rook doesn't have any range attacks, and he'd have to be closer and able to, for him to be able to counter that attack. So he's not going to do that. But the cave sickle is not done. We were here. Is there an opponent with range 4? We attacked. But then we move to be adjacent to the opponent with the most damage within movement range. And then we're going to make an attack with a follow-up. So its movement is 6. He is at close, the same distance to both of these. So again, we look at furthest in the front of the initiative track. So this time it's going to go here. It cannot move diagonally, so it's going to move 1, 2, and come right up to Nightingale, and then make an attack, and it might have a follow-up. So what is Nightingale's defense? She's over here. 9, 10, I believe that's it. And then she has 0 armor, apparently. Yes. Alright, but she's at 10 defense. Let's see what they roll. Oh, they roll 10. So right now they are hitting. Now, Nightingale can dodge and try to increase her defense. So let's move these aside. Let's see. Does she have? She has enough to dodge, but she can also exhaust her defensive core. So why pay a speak when you can do it for free? So all she has to do is roll 1 shield here. Of course, if she gets the skull, no bueno. And she does get the skull, so no bueno. So the spiders, the cave sickles are going to hit. So let's look back at these and the symbols. So just like us, the cave sickles have symbols on the bottom of the card. Shields is 1 physical damage. So right now, Nightingale, there's 2 damage coming her way. Does she have any armor? I don't think she has any armor. 0 armor. Yeah, no armor for her. So she's straight getting the first 2 damage that the heroes are getting in the game. I gotta point out that during this scenario, usually the heroes start with some consumables, some heal potions and stuff, but I didn't even bring them out because I wanted them to find them during the adventure. And it was just more stuff on the table, and I thought that they'll be fine. I mean, they're fine. She's got a lot of HP. She has 12 HP, plus 1 more from here. No, 3 more from here. 15. So 2 more from here. Another 2 more. She's okay. The first few missions are really easy to win. I'm sure it gets more complicated, but at the beginning, you know, we're just testing the waters. So because even though she dodged, she did get hurt. She cannot, even if she wanted to, she cannot counter, because counter only happens if there was no final damage. So let's see. Do these guys do anything else? I don't think so. Oh yes, there is a follow-up. Inflict poison with force 9. So good, you're gonna see. This is not a spell, but it's a spell-like ability. So you're gonna see how spells work. Spells and spell-like abilities work same way. or very, very similar. There, we would roll, if this guy had any casting dice, it would roll those, but they don't. So they're just at a 9. They're we have to beat a 9 in order not to get poisoned. And the way we beat a 9 is that once we establish the force of the spell or spell-like ability, which in this case is a 9, we look at our conviction dice. And we're going to roll those to try and, well, not get damaged by the effect. We're rolling 2 purple unless she has any conviction upgrades. Let's take a look at her equipment. Yeah, she doesn't have any upgrades to her conviction dice, so she has to roll a 9 with the 2 purples, which is not easy, but not impossible. So let's see what she rolls. And she did an 11, so she actually does not get poisoned. If she would have rolled anything less than 9, she would gain a poison ability token, and I believe it gives her damage every turn. So after the follow-up, we are done with that spider, or non-spider, that cave sickle. So we're going to go ahead and tap this because she's done. And we are at the end of the round, so we finish a whole round. So what happens at the end of the round, of course, anything that happens at the end of the round will trigger now. But we don't have any abilities, end of the round abilities yet. So we just shuffle these, and we keep on going. Okay, so Nightingale's gonna go first, then Remy, then Brooke, then Zeke. Everybody's going first. Then the K-Sickles and the K-Sickles. Ooh, very similar to last turn, isn't it? Alright, so Nightingale. She is over here next to a friend. The first thing that happens is she's going to gain 3 SP, putting her up to her max of 5, and she will unexhaust everything in her area, so she can use that dodge again. And now she can go. Now, of course, she wants to attack. So she has to spend 2 SP to attack the adjacent K-Sickle. And she is going to be rolling 2 white dice from her longsword. I can go ahead and empower that. This K-Sickle has no damage. I think I might. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to empower the attack. I get to roll the black. I'm trying to beat an 8. And I do, I get an 8, which is like exactly what I need. So I have the 8, so the attack does hit. Let's check her abilities and her symbols. Okay, so every 2 shields, she gets plus 2 physical damage. So that's 2, 4, and that's every shield she has. And then that star would give her another. So she just damaged for 4. And if she wants to, she can hit the spider again. She does have 2 SP, which is exactly what it costs to attack. But does she want to? I mean, everybody else has to have a turn. I know I want Rook to take care of this boulder, but I would like this cave sickle to be dealt with before we move the boulder. But Remy can take care of that one. So I think I'm going to stop so that I don't spend my last 2 and I can refill. I mean, I'm playing really carefully, I know, but I mean, I want the other guys to act as well. So I'm going to say that she's done, and Remy is next, and she's a flyer. Remember, she gets plus 1 movement. Yeah, from her occult shirt. First, we'll unexhaust everything. She used a lot of things, didn't she? And she gets 3 SP. So she's up to 4. She has no damage. She's gonna spend 1 to move, and remember, when she moves, it's a fly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she's gonna stand right there. She can actually attack from adjacent, so I don't even have to move there. I can just stay there. And remember, she has an ability where if I exhaust her character card, I can move diagonally. But in any case, I'm just gonna stop there and attack this spider. Also, if I moved 1 more, I would provoke a break attack because I'm already adjacent to the spider. If I move over here, I'm moving away from the spider and it will attack me. So I don't want to do that. So let's just stand there and go for it. She's going to roll 2. Now, do I want to empower her attack? I know I have to pay 2 to attack the spider. I still have 1 to empower it, but I won't. I think if I can't get it done, maybe Zeke can get it. Although I would love for Rook to move the rock and then Zeke to attack one of these. Let's hope she can do it. Let's roll. Okay, she got an 8. which is exactly what she needs, but then she only has 2 shields, which for her is 2 more damage, which will bring the spiders to 6, which is perfect. That's what we need, because they're at 4 right now. So yes, that will kill the last cave sickle. I keep calling it spider. I apologize. I will continue to call it a spider, because for some reason, I guess they look like a spider to me. So now we've defeated the 2 cave sickles, and now we can draw a loot card. So let's see what we get. It's usually gold, and yes, it is 5 gold. And like I said, in this scenario, it's not going to help us much because we're not moving to the next. But you collect gold, and then you can shop for better items and stuff like that. There's also items that you can get from the loot, unique items, which are rare, like difficult to find. And then there's also monster loot, which is a loot that you can get from a specific monster. So if you kill a cave sickle, you will get cave sickle specific item. But moving on, so Remy, I think she's done. She moved, she attacked. Let's have her be done. And now Rook. Now the spiders are, no, not the spiders. The cave sickles are gone, so I can focus on the rock. So let's see. First, let's get 3 SP. Unexhaust everything, but he doesn't have anything exhausted. He's going to use 1 to move, and in this game you cannot break movement. So once you take a move action, you move however much you want to move, and that's it. You cannot move, attack, and then use the rest of your movement. So unfortunately, he's using that all to move just 1 space. Alright, and now because we're adjacent to the movable space, we can do a skill of strength 10. And the way the skills work is that we're going to roll 2 purple, and we're going to add whatever our ability is. So for him, he has a strength of 6, so we only need a 4 to pass the skill test. Now the scenario instructed us to treat moving or doing the skill check as an encounter, which means he has to spend 1 SP, because that's what it costs to do an encounter. Encounter actions are encounter-specific actions that an adventurer may take, like activating loot tokens, and there it is, the cost 1 SP. So he's down to 3 SP, and all we need is a 4. Yep, more than capable of moving that rock. Now, I can do 2 things. I can move it here, but I think what I want to do is move it adjacent to the dangerous terrain, because the scenario says if you move it to the adjacent, if you move it to the dangerous terrain, it just is out of the game and doesn't bother us anymore. And like I said, I can't move anymore, so even though I have 3 SP, here I am with 2 spiders looking at me, but I can't do anything about it. So I think Rook is done, and it's all up to Zeke, who's going to have to come and try and defeat one of these spiders. So first, he gets 3 SP. He unexhausts everything, but he really doesn't have anything exhausted. He's going to take 1 action to 1 SP to move. And remember, you can only move once per turn, so this is move action. He's gonna have to spend a lot of resources to move because this girl's on the way. Does he have any extra movement? I don't think so. He's moving, nope, he doesn't, so he's just straight 6. So that will be, oops, don't take her with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in order to move, he would have to spend 2 to move, but he can't end his movement there, so he's gonna spend 1 more to do 5, 6, and then 7, and he's gonna stay here because if he moves 1 more, again he will provoke a break attack. But he's right there, and he still has 3 SP, so he'll use 2 to attack the adjacent spider. All of our guys are melee. The only one that has something that could be range is Nightingale, that has a spell. Alright, so he's going to be rolling, he has finesse, so instead of the 2 purple, he's going to roll 2 white. Pretty much everybody rolls white. And does he want to empower the attack with his last SP? I think so. We have to try and hit these guys as hard as we can. So I know I'm depleting all my SP, but let's do it. And he has a few cool abilities. For example, his short sword. I can exhaust this to reroll one of your combat die. And actually, I can have a free attack. So if you have 2 one-handed weapons equipped, make an attack if I exhaust it. So I'll do that, and I'll return my 2 SP. Because if I don't hit them, I have 2 more SP and I can do another attack. But let's see if I can, what I can do. Wow, so 3 and 2 is only 5, and I need an 8. but I can exhaust to reroll one of your combat dice. So I will exhaust that, and I will reroll the 2, and I get a 6. So now I hit. So now 6 and 3 is 9. And I can actually use my other one to reroll the 3, but I think I'm okay. I don't want to mess this up. So 6 and 3 is 9, which is more than the defense. So I'm already hitting it once. And then the symbols on my swords is 2 shields, is 2 damage. So I have 2 shields, so that's another damage. Unfortunately, my black die really messed up and didn't really give us anything. Star will give us a damage, but I don't have any stars. Again, I could exhaust my other sword, but I'm afraid of rolling. I mean, before I do it, yes, I'm gonna exhaust my sword. I'm gonna take a chance here, but not to reroll that because I'm scared of the skull. I'll reroll the 3. Okay, well, look at that. I think that went well. So now I'm at 13 instead of, and both my swords are exhausted, but I'm at 13 minus the 8, so that I feel good about this. So I already have 5 damage, and then another damage here that's more than enough to get rid of 1 of the cave sickles, which again doesn't give me loot because it's a swarm. But I think Zeke did great. We only have 1 cave sickle to worry about, so let's go through what they would do in this turn. Is there an opponent adjacent? No, there isn't. Is there an opponent within range 4? Yes, there is. There's Zeke. So it will make a range attack from range 4. So let's roll for them. They roll 2 weight. They don't get to empower. What's Zeke's defense? Base of 9. That's armor, but there's another defense, so he's at 10. Alright, can the cave sickles roll a 10? Yes, they can. They roll an 11. So I can dodge. I have 2 SP left. I don't have a free dodge like everybody else, do I? When making a dodge, reroll your dodge roll. Reduce physical damage up to you, and then my passive. Once per turn, Zeke may reroll his dodge. Okay, so I think it's worth dodging. So we'll dodge, and dodge costs 1 SP. We'll roll the black. Wow, we did it again. We got 4 shields. Very good. So they're at 11, and we are at 14. So they miss. Now we don't have 2 SP to counter, and we wouldn't be able to counter because we're not adjacent. So I think we're gonna leave it at that. Do they do anything else? Yes, they do. We did the attack range 4, then move to be adjacent to the opponent with the most damage within movement range, and then make an attack. And it has a follow-up. So the only opponent that they would be able to reach without moving through the dangerous terrain, which they don't want to do, would be Zeke. So 1, 2, 3. There they go for Zeke again. They're going to make an attack. Yeah, they're going to make an attack. So let's see what they got. And it's a 9, which is not enough because Zeke has 10 defense. And that's great because that way, if they miss, they won't be able to do their follow-up. So that's the end of these spiders. And these spiders are both gone, so they shouldn't even be here anymore. So that means that we're at the end of the round. And of course, now looking in retrospect, Zeke is... No, he's not a line of sight because there's obstructing terrain here, so he can't see the red totem yet. That's a good thing. Because I would have not messed that up, and I didn't. So good. All right. So at the end of the round, we shuffle Zeke, and then Nightingale, and Remy, Rook, and the cave sickles are last. Wow, it seems to always put the monsters in last. That's not bad. All right, Zeke first. Okay, Zeke can probably get this cave sickle done. First, let's give him 3 SP. Put him here so I can see it. And unexhaust all his stuff. Okay. He's adjacent, so he's going to go ahead. First, he's going to use his free attack. Now I remember. He's rolling 2. Does he need to empower it? This cave sickle has no damage, so I say yes. Let's empower it. Okay, here we go. Alright, 6 and 5, 11. We did it. So we are at 3 damage right now because of difference. And then with his swords. He gets 2 shields or 2 physical attacks, so 3, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, cave sickle gone. And because it's the second cave sickle to go, we get a loot, and it's monster loot. Okay, so it looks like our cave sickles were carrying a relic. There's 3 cave sickle relics. So what we do is we shuffle these out, and instead of drawing from the top, we are actually going to draw from the bottom of the deck. So I don't know, I'm trying not to look. All right, we get this one. And it's whatever that is, chitting? Monster loot materials. So material is important because we can turn it into upgrades. And then this thing, if we flip it when you are dealt damage, ignore all physical damage dealt to you. And of course there are restrictions as far as how many things you can carry. 1 weapon in each hand, or a 2-handed weapon, so you only have 2 hands. You can carry 1 core, 3 consumables, 1 armor, and 3 relics. So he can carry that, and when you pick up an item, you immediately get a re-equip for free. So he can actually, if he had anything in the party stash, or we have other consumables, anything else that he had in the party stash, he can right now put it on, I guess. But all he has is that new relic, so he's going to equip it, of course, why not? Remember, flip means that we will not be able to use it again until the story lets us use it again. But that was cool. Actually, it's the first time I ever gotten monster loot. Anyway, so Zeke is done. He hasn't moved, and he still has 3 SP. If he moves, we can reveal the totem. So I think he will, because he's going to regain 3 SP in the next turn. So might as well try and make effective use of DSP. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and there he is in line of sight. Now, of course, we would reveal that, but he would be able to continue moving. So 5, 6, that's where he would end up. So now let's see what the red totem is all about. All right, so the cave sickles are back in less number, but they're back. And also I gotta say, I don't have to kill them in order to win the scenario. The objective is to reach the exit. But I'm right here next to them. They happen to spawn right on top of me. And Zeke still has 2 more SP, so they're gonna go down if I can. So I'm gonna spend my last 2 SP. I won't be able to empower the attack, but if I roll good, I might be able to at least do some damage. And I roll a 9, which is not great, but I can go ahead and exhaust my sword to reroll. And there's an 11. They're at 3, the difference, and then 4, 5. Right, because it's 2 is 2 damage. Yeah, so 4, 5 because of the shields, and that's it. 5 damage, which is no joke. 1 more damage and I'll be dead. And yes, yeah, you can attack adjacent. Oh, actually, I have -1 because I'm attacking into hindering terrain. So it's only 4 damage, which means someone else is gonna have to finish the job. But he moved, gonna move again. He's out of SP, so he's all done. Let's have Nightingale have a turn. So Nightingale's all the way in the back over here. Let's first give her 3 SP. And I love that these are double-sided. I just put my hand in there, and I know I'm getting a 3 because if one side is going to be a 3. All right, everything is unexhausted. She's going to spend 1 to move, and that will be 2 to get out of the hindering square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's where she would go. If she spend 1 more, she can move up to here, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Can she see this spider? She can't. So she's going to spend 1 more for reasons that you'll see in a minute to move 2 more. And now she can see that spider without the terrain being in her way. So she's going to cast a spell because it's the one thing you haven't seen yet. Well, actually, you kind of did because there was the cave sickle that tried to poison us. But she's got this cool spell. It's a spell 6. And like I told you, SOI or Sphere of Influence, it's a range 4. She has to be able to see the cave sickle, but she can. So we're going to roll our casting die, and most of our guys have a purple. When it comes to casting, they usually roll a purple casting die. So let's roll that, and we add 6 to the results. Okay, so 6 plus another 6 is 12. So the force of my spell is 12. Now, despite the cave sickles are going to roll their conviction die. dice and try to prevent the spell from affecting them. And as you can see from their character sheet, when they cast a conviction, they're rolling white and purple. Can they roll a 12? No, they only roll a 9. So the spell does hit or is successful. So then we look at the spell to see what is the effect. So for this specific one, we can deal 2 magic damage. If we take 2 damage, we can deal another 2, but we don't need to. This particular cave sickle is at 4 damage and it only has 6 HP. So with 2, it would actually be defeated. So let's put the cave sickle over here to indicate that it's defeated. Part of the swarm. I still need one more, which is the red one, in order to grab some loot. But Nightingale, you did great. You showed us the spell. That's pretty good. She moved already. She has... No, did she move? Yes. Oh, this I have to exhaust in order to use the spell. It's actually free. She can't move anymore. She can't attack from where she's at. She's already done her spell. She's done. Moving on to Remy, our flyer. So let's give her 3 SP. Everything is unexhausted. She's going to use 1 SP to move. And she's not hindered by terrain or allies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She can't do much from where she's at. She won't be able to do much no matter how much I move her. But she does have an ability. If I exhaust her, she can move 1 space in any direction, including diagonals. So let's do that. And then let's spend, well, actually, I cannot interrupt the movement. So I think I have to spend the SP now to move her 2 more. So I will. It's unfortunate. Well, actually, no, she's a flyer. So 1, 2 will put her here because she's not affected by Nightingale. And then now I'll exhaust this to move diagonally. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm trying to get to the exit. Somebody has to get to the exit, or at least closer to the cave sickle so I can fight it. But I can't fight it from there because I'm still a melee attacker. Actually, she has an extra movement, doesn't she? I only moved her 6, but she has an extra movement here. So she can get right there next to the sickle with that extra movement. Great, so then she can attack it. So let's do it. She'll spend her last 2, which means she won't be able to empower her attack. But she does get to roll her 2 white. And I'm trying to hit an 8. And I don't. I miss. It's only a 6. But the cave sickles do not dodge or counter. So I just wasted 2 SP, I guess. Where I tried to hit. Do I have anything? Oh yes, you know what? I do have this ability. If I exhaust my hammer helm, I can, when making an attack, which is what I'm doing, with a 2-handed weapon equipped, which I do, you may reroll any dice. So let's do it. I went and exhausted it, and I guess I'll just roll the 3, because the 7 is pretty good. Is that what I rolled? No, I didn't. I rolled a 3, and I rolled really poorly. Let's reroll both of them then. Okay, well, I still missed, but we tried. And I don't think there's anything else I can do. So Remy is finished. So now is Rook, who's all the way back here. Let's give him, well, he would get 3 SP, but he only gets 2 because he can only be at a max of 5. Everything is unexhausted, so let's spend 1 SP to move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he doesn't quite make it to the spider unless I use more SP. The problem is I need 2 to get out of here, so I will need to use 2 more SP. I guess I will. So he had 4, so yeah, he's down to 2 because he's using 2. He's using 1, 2, and then just, well, if he does that, he'll do 1, 2, not to provoke a break attack, and then 1 to move in here. He needs 2 to get out, but only 1 to move in here. And then he's going to, you know it, he's going to attack. He's our tank. And I can exhaust one of the hammers to empower my attack. So I will, which means I roll the black. Alright, 10, beautiful. And lots of shields, just like I like it. Okay, so I'm already at 2 damage. And then if I look at my weapon, 2 shields is 2 physical damage, so 4, 6, 8 damage. And then my stars is 1 physical damage, so 9 damage. I think you know that the cave sickle is done. And with that, We defeated the cave sickle and we get loot and we get 8 gold. Rook is out of SP. Does he want to do anything for free? I don't think so. You can get those heal tokens, but the only one that's hurt is Nightingale, and it's not even badly hurt. I think I'm going to just pass. Now, we defeated one set of spiders, but these guys are still here. Now, the issue with them is that they don't want to get caught in the, what do you call it, the dark or the terrain. Let's see if they will move at all. Is there an opponent adjacent? No, there isn't. Is there an opponent within range 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, there is. So I guess they'll attack from there. Make a range attack. So they're attacking 1, 2, what is it? 1, how did I do it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 1, 2, 3, 4. So Rook and Rook and Zeke are the same range. Zeke is first in initiative, so he will go for Zeke. So, alright, Zeke, 2 white dice coming for your defense of 10, and they missed, so Zeke is fine. Alright, so then let's see. Is there an opponent with range 4? Yes. Then move to be adjacent to the opponent with the most damage within movement range. Okay, he can move 6. Who's got the most damage is Nightingale, which is over here. So he wants to move over here. 1, 2. He'd have to jump 4, 5, 6. But he wouldn't be able to reach her. So if that's the case, he would look for somebody else. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and move over to Zeke. Now, jumping through these is dangerous, but I think she would do it because she wants to attack. So, how do we jump? There is a whole section of jumping, so here we go. It may choose to jump over spaces. Jumping is defined as moving over 1 or more spaces without being affected by the terrain, being defeated, etc. Jumping may only be done during a move action or free movement, and jumping, yes, does not over spaces expends movement points in the same way. During movement and adventure, or it's not an adventure, it'll be a monster, declares that they're jumping, designate a space in adventure to end. Let's see. To check if the jump was successful, make an agility 10 skill check. For each additional space jumped over after the first, add +2 to the difficulty of the skill check, which he's jumping over 2, so he needs to pass a skill test of 12. Now, if there's more allies adjacent, but that's not going to happen because he's the only cave sickle around, so he has to pass a skill 12 and agility 12. But you will notice that the cave sickles, they don't have any abilities listed like the adventurers do. So what happens is they just roll a black die. And as long as they don't roll the skull, they're actually successful. 1, 2, and it's going to jump over here. I don't know, I think you need to jump in a straight line, but it doesn't matter. 3, 4, 5, 6, and from here it can attack Zeke. So, alright, let's roll for it. Okay, and it's not a skull, so it successfully jumps all the way here. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He gets 1 more. It's going to make an attack, and there might be a follow-up. So attacks right here, and I think he got us. Yeah, that's a 12. So Zeke better dodge. Can you dodge for free? Right, Zeke cannot dodge for free, and he doesn't have any SP to spend 1 SP to dodge, so he's actually going to get hurt. And there will be a follow-up, so it's going to be a fun one. Alright, so 12 minus the 10, he's already getting 2 damage his way, and then +1 plus every shield, so that's another 3. So he just got 5 damage. Okay, Zeke, you are officially the most damaged character in the game. Alright, and then for the follow-up attack, it's going to inflict poison at force 9. So they don't have casting dice, so it's just a 9. Zeke's conviction is 2 purples. Does he have any upgrades? No, he doesn't have any upgrades, but I'm looking, and he can just flip this to ignore all physical damage dealt to him. So he doesn't have to take that. Of course, now that it's flipped, I can't use it again, but at least he won't take the damage Also, he gets to reduce by 2 the damage incoming to him, but you know that's doesn't matter because he's ignoring all of it. And last but not least, he needs to roll his conviction dice, which are not upgraded, so 2 purple, and roll a 9 or higher to prevent being poisoned. Okay, and he doesn't. He only rolls a 4, so he is getting poisoned. This is the poison damage token, and it tells you exactly what it does right here. As a status, you are dealt a purple of irreducible damage. And that's going to be resolved during step number 2 of the adventurer's turn. Luckily, we are about to end the scenario. We're almost at the exit, and only one character has to reach the exit, one adventurer. And during the next encounter, we will remove his status token, so he would not be poisoned anymore. But if we don't get to restore adventurers, the damage continues. We don't get to heal at the end of the adventure. We only get to heal if we can restore, if the story lets us heal, pretty much. Kind of like a video game. But in any case, I think the cave sickles did enough, right? They have done their follow-up, they have done everything they can do, so they are done now. They might be first during the next round, so I've usually drawn them last, but that doesn't mean that that's going to stay like that. And he wouldn't get any SP until the beginning of his turn, so let's see. First is Remy, okay, then Rook, then Zeke. Oh my gosh, cave sickles are last again. How do I keep doing that? Okay, so Remy, let's unexhaust everything and give her 3 SP. And she can probably fly us out of here. I'm pretty sure she can, which means that we will end the encounter. So she will spend 1 SP to move, and she doesn't have to deal with you guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there she goes. We have finished the encounter. Now I could reveal the reward that we will get at the end of the encounter, but why spoil it for you? You can just check that out on your own when you play the game. But that's it. That's a game, a whole run through of the first encounter of Middara. Well guys, there you have it. That was a full run through of Middara Unintentional Malum Act 1. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And also join us on Twitter and on Instagram so you can find out more about Meeple Village. I hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed this game. It's kind of like Final Fantasy in the box. I love Final Fantasy. The adventure is lighthearted, but intricate. There's a lot of story in this game, and I'm looking forward to play it for many months to come. Thank you guys for joining us. I will see you in the next one, but until then, may you play more games.